Hi, good morning, or good afternoon, or good night. I wanted to start a live stream about making some covers. I'll set up everything here. Let's see, I have some focus, making sure. Now you can see me in the corner. But first of all, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do an experiment today. I want to experiment with different sewing patterns, and for that I need a couple of covers to do that. And I'm going to just make some covers in different colors, and I'm going to do it in A6 size. So this is 15 centimeters on 10, and I'll just work. I'm going to start with marking a 2 centimeter line on my covers. And let's start with a green cover. As you can see, this is not straight. I'm going to straighten this up. And I need 7.5. So 7.5 would be here. Something new is I'm doing the live stream also on shorts, so I guess the ones that see shorts see only the middle, and I'm trying to figure out what they are looking at. And as I can see, it is quite a narrow picture. So if you are looking in shorts, then you can just go to the regular feed. So let's start gluing my covers. I have my chat open, so if you want, you can write things, say hi to each other, and I'll try and look from time to time. I want to make a spine that is you call it a hard spine. It is 2.5 centimeter wide. And the gap you see here is a 0.5 centimeter gap. Let's see that my calculations are right. It's a bit more. Let me see why. I'll mark here and here. And now I'll cut it exactly. And for the second one, I'll see what's the problem. Okay, thank you for the microphone. So I'll raise it up a bit. Can you hear more clearly now? Great. Now I want to try and make the inner spine before turning it in. So I'll do the same measurement of 7.5, 5, 7.5. And I'm going to cut it as the board, so this is 15, maybe a bit less, like so. Yeah, it fits nicely. I'll take some waste paper. And always I start by connecting the middle, taking my bone folder and going to one side and the other. And then folding it if any of you are watching in short feed, just tell me how you see the picture. Maybe I need to raise the camera from the overhead so you can see a bigger frame, because this is new to me. Actually, I have here the brass rods from last week's video, and then they can help me nicely here. Okay, one is ready. Let me see something. Okay. What I'm going to do, I'll move here. And I'm going to lift my camera. Make sure it is in focus. And maybe now you can see better. I have a bit of delay, so I'm making sure it's okay. Let me do another one with a blue color now. The trick I'm using with always using my ruler as a guide. So this ruler is 2 centimeters, and that's the guide for me to until where I want my cloth to come to. And because everything is going to be covered, I can actually glue it up until my line. But sometimes I put some waste paper underneath. I'll show you with the other side. And then you are definitely having a straight line. I'll put my weight. First of all, I'll put this and then the weight. If you are just joining me, I'm making covers in various colors. And this is kind of an experiment. I want to try different patterns of sewing directly to the spine. And for that, I need some covers. So I'm planning on the weekend to just play with different designs, and I thought to myself, this is a great opportunity to do a live stream because it's been a while, and this is a demo of how to create a straight line with waste paper. You saw the line of glue. Always make sure when you're flipping over your work that the surface is clean. 5, 7.5. Another piece of waste paper. I'll try to work always in the middle so everyone could see. This material I'm using is bookbinding cloth, and by the way, everything I'm doing here is from leftover materials from different projects, because I need small strips of cloth and small pieces of board. It is so wonderful that you can use or reuse materials that are lying around. And what I'm also going to do afterwards is the rest of the board. I'm going to use also this leftover very nice Fabriano paper to cover the rest of the boards. I'll do the turn-ins. And the other side. So this is number 2. Let me see what's going on here. Oh, thank you for staying up late. I'm trying to understand about the watercolor book of the measurement change compared to the A4 paper in my other videos. I'm not completely sure what you mean. You want to do it another size rather than A4, or you want to raise it to A4? Yeah, I know some of you, it's the middle of the night. So I hope this finds you well. let's go on to green color. What do you say? I love this green. And now I'm going to mark myself the 2 centimeters because I didn't like in the blue one that it wasn't the same on both sides. I see. So if you want to work with thick paper, first of all, hi. If you want to use thick paper, first of all, I would recommend you to make the signatures of 8 pages or 12 and not 16 because the signature in a watercolor paper is quite thick. Another thing, if you don't know what I mean about making a signature, is when you fold papers, you have papers here, let me just take this. When you fold papers, let's say this is a piece of paper of with watercolor, if I fold it once, I'll cut it here so you'll see. So if you fold it once, that gives us 4 pages, right? And if I'll fold another one and put one inside the other, that would give me a signature of 8 pages. And that's usually something to work with when you're working with watercolor paper around 300 grams. You can try and add another one to make it 12 pages. And about the glue is drying. About the thick paper, when you make it as a book, you need to take into consideration with the spine, not with the front and back covers, only with the spine. So if you have a thicker spine, you measure the whole book block and then you cut the spine that would be suitable for the amount of pages you have inside your book. So the boards themselves are not reflected by the thickness of your book, just the spine. Okay, I hope that answers your question. Okay, where I'm going here, I'll bring another weight and glue the spine. And what you're asking me? Hello and good morning or good afternoon or good night. It's amazing that we are a community from all over the world. By the way, also the gap is not changing. The gap like I'm making now between the front, back and the spine. Just the thickness of your spine. That's exactly what I need. You see again this line of glue, because we are talking about millimeter here and there and I'm going up until the line, sometimes it makes the line of glue on my working surface. So I need always to make sure I don't have glue there. And let me do this one by covering the turn-ins and then adding, because here in the two of these I glue the inner one and then on it. I want to show you another way what I usually do is make the turn-ins and then put the inner spine. When you work with glue, you need to make sure not to put too much. As you can see, when I'm applying pressure, you can see a bit is going out, and I'm making sure that my bone folder is not with glue. So when I go, let's say on the other side and work on it, so it won't stain my work. I'll bring another piece here. It's a good question regarding when you insert one paper inside the other, and that depends on the result you want to achieve. If you are working with thin paper, sometimes it doesn't really matter if it's pointing out, but what you can do, I'll open the camera again, what you can do is just line it up on your cutting mat or just mark the measurements. Let's do it very small, and you need to take off around 1-2 millimeters, and then you just hold a ruler and cut it. Go multiple times up until everything is cut and then move it. And with watercolor, what I like to do, I'll do a wider shot here. What I like to do is make a deckled edge, because I like to leave a deckled edge. A deckled edge is that the edge is not sharp, not cut with a knife. And then what I do is I just hold the ruler in the place I want it to be. Usually, let's say do it 1/2 centimeter or a centimeter, that would be easier to hold the paper. I hold the ruler and then I just tear out the paper like so. I can show you from upper side. I just hold the paper and then just bring it to the ruler, and that gives me the deckled edge. I have a video on my channel about binding the book by Elsa Lasker-Schüler, and you can see at the beginning of the video that I'm cutting the deckled edge all around the book, and also to a couple of works of art that I add inside the book, so you can see how I work with watercolor paper. I'll cut this 14 because I'm doing it after the turn-ins. Great. Making sure it is in the middle of the frame, more or less. Again, if any of you are watching in the shorts feed, I would love to know how you see the footage to understand if I need to make it better and improve, because I'm broadcasting in them both, the vertical and the horizontal feed. As you can see, after I'm gluing, I have still time to move it a bit. So don't be alarmed when working with glue and binding. You are in control of the material and not vice versa. So you have time, you can move things around, you can lift it and do it again. I know there's a lot of people that have fear of working with glue. So it's important for me to say that worst case, we're just working with paper, cloth, and boards. I'll go for blue now. What do you say? If you're just joining me, today I'm making covers in various colors. And I want to experiment on the weekend about different sewing patterns and to make templates for these patterns. So I just need different kinds, and then each color would be a different pattern, and I can work on it and make maybe a PDF file of how to go around each of the patterns. So that's the idea. And it's a wonderful opportunity to do a live stream, because I didn't do a live stream, I think, since the beginning of this year. I was very busy working on other things. For instance, a new class I made about the pocket journal. So I was filming for a couple of weeks in January and then editing everything. And I had some projects to work on. I didn't mark the 2 centimeters. I'll do it like this. And just making a fold, and that indicates where I want it to come to. I think there's a lot of things you can learn from just watching somebody work. Each one has its different style and technique. I see. Nice. About the ruler story. And about the vertical video, maybe it's for people just scrolling between shorts and then they can see a live feed. I'm not sure how it works, but I said I'll open the option. If you're just joining, I'm making covers, and this is 1/2 centimeter, and I'm putting a gap between the front cover, the spine, and the back cover, and that allows a hinge to open and close the book. Navy blue. Hello to Australia. This cutting mat is such a help. Now I need 14. Can easily cut it. And because I don't know if you can see, because there are points here, I can see the 1/2 centimeter. So if I need 7.5, which is here, I can cut it, but I'll cut it a little bit less because of the edge of the cloth. You see, the cloth is actually what's special. Maybe I'll talk about that. What's special about the bookbinding cloth is it's a piece of cloth that you have paper for backing, and then when you put glue, the glue doesn't go through the cloth. So usually at the edge you have a piece, I'll show you like this, you have a piece that is not connected entirely. If I'll peel it off, you can see the piece that is not connected, and that's an area you don't want to have on your cover, because then the glue would be outside, and you can also see the difference in the color. It's a different shade because there's no white paper on the other side. There are many brands of book cloth in many countries. This is one from Holland. But you can find it online in various colors. I'll finish this and I'll look at the chat a bit. Okay, we have 4. Let me check the chat. I'm so happy to hear you made your first Coptic binding. That's great to hear. Let's do some yellow. And after that, I think I'll start connecting paper for the rest of the cover. There's a question here. Are you talking about paper for backing the cloth? If so, I would go for something that is more or less between 60 to 90 grams, so very, very thin paper, because otherwise it would make the cloth very thick to work with and to turn in the material. So usually you use very thin paper. Maybe you know it like Bible paper because it's very thin, or they used to have paper for tracing when you do clothing and designs. So they have a very thin paper. We call it silk paper, but I'm not sure that's the right term for the thin paper. So that's the paper I would use for backing the cloth. Of course, to try and find something that is with a natural pH, so it won't make stains of, let's say, if you use newspaper paper, then it's a very cheap kind of paper and recycled paper, and then you can have rust inside and so on. So try to figure out where you can find a quality paper that won't make surprises years to come. I'll cut it 7.5. If you're just joining me, good morning, good evening, good night. What I'm making are hardcovers in various colors because I want to make some experiments in sewing patterns on the weekend. I hope I'll do it on the weekend. And for that, I need some covers to help me do that. And we are working today with an A6 size, and that means this is 15 on 10, and the spine is 2.5 centimeters. The thickness of board I'm using is 2.3 chipboard or bookbinder's board. And the gap between the front and the spine is 0.5 centimeter. Yes, about the templates, I want to try and make like a PDF file with different templates for different sewing patterns. I think that would be something of value to you, to try and experiment. And it's quite amazing that you can make, even in the same holes you make on the spine, you can make different designs by just moving the thread and the needle in different directions. As you can see, I'm keeping on doing the turn-ins and then connecting, rather than the beginning that I put the inner and then on it, because I remembered why I did it in the first place and why I do it most of the time. I think that gives us a much cleaner solution. Or cleaner work, not solution. And 7.5. I'll trim this first. Oh, that's so great to hear. Handmade presents are the best presents, don't you think? Everything handmade. I'm so happy I can inspire others to create and help them on their creative journey. That's truly a privilege. Again, I'm bringing it. You can still work with it up and down, see it straight, and then connect. I see there's a bit of board here I need to take off. Now let me move on. Yeah, I want to try and make the other side. So this is Fabriano paper, 90 gram. This is a very nice paper to work with. But this paper was used for an edition of books, regular books, and that is why it has a layer that helps clean it afterwards. I don't know how is it called? Lamination, maybe that's the word. Write me in the comments how you call it, the plasticky layer that is connected to the paper on the outside so you can clean it afterwards. So these are just leftovers. I have a pile of them, and I saved them because I knew someday I will have something to do with it. And you can see, I don't know if you can see the laid paper. You can see the lines of the net of creating this paper. So I wanted 2 centimeters more than the cover. So let me put the weight here and put one weight here and cut. Fell down. So this is one, and let's do another one. As you can see, I'm using my weights for so many things. These are 2 by 2 centimeters. I actually found a link on Amazon to weights, not in centimeters, but in inches. So maybe I'll add it to the description. It is, you know, the price is in brass, so it's not very cheap. You can improvise with a piece of marble I have here. You can improvise with a piece of marble or a block of wood, but this has its weight and it is very nice to work with. So I do recommend that. Let me see how I'm going to make this. I'll show you this kind of a trick. I'm going to, I'll move to this back. I'm going to make sure where it ends and where it begins, and I'll put my weight here. Making sure where you see that the lamination here is finished here. Okay, so I need this side to be glued. I'll bring a piece of waste paper and I'm going to put underneath, and one over here. Put a small weight here, so if you can see it in my short feed. And what I'm going to do is glue only the board up until the end. I'll take the waste paper out. And now I'm going to glue just a line here. And then the paper won't start shifting and moving. I have just glue where I need it to be. More or less 2 centimeters on both sides. I can bring it to my weight. Now it acts as a stopper. Now it acts as a weight. Usually now I put it inside the press, but let's see if I can work without that. Flip it over, trim this side. And this is okay. And let's do the other side. Another waste paper. Hi, good morning. Somebody's joining from Italy. It's nice. Yeah, I didn't look at the chat for a while. I see there's a couple of things. Hope you are chatting between one another because this is quite a delicate part. I need to be in focus. Let me try, because I'm starting to have less and less waste paper. I'll do it on the same one. Just the edge here. Take the waste paper out. So happy to work with this paper. I think it is waiting for me since 2010, I think. Now I'm going to take this little thing. This is to cut the corners in 45-degree angle. And if you want to learn how to make it, I have a video about the corner jig, so you can check that later. And you just put it on the corner and cut. And I'll save these for later. I'll find something to do with it, don't worry. I think waste paper would be better for this. How many? I have a pile of 9 and I made 5 already. And as you can see, I just moved on to another part. And also, because some of you are here from the beginning, you want to see something else. So I'm doing something else. But usually it's also for me, you know, to find different things to do and not just the same thing over and over. Although this is a very typical thing to do as a book binder. I'm not going to worry about this if it's not touching up until the end, because there's going to be end paper up until this line, so that's not a problem. working the corner, and I'll do the other side. I have a pile of waste paper underneath my table, and I just reuse them for years. And now I'll move on to the short sides. I'll just check that paper is okay. It is reacting very nicely, thank you for that. The thinner the paper, when you use it, it expands and shifts a bit. So that is why usually when you start working and binding, I always recommend to start with thicker paper, around 160 grams and not 90 grams, because it has its issues with just expanding and moving, and it's a bit more difficult to work with. You see how it's lifting? You can see that this is the grain direction. Because the paper is expanding, it is lifting, and actually it is getting larger, would be the right? No, it's expanding with the grain direction. So we have one. Now let's do this one. I think that would be beautiful. I need 4 centimeters, so that would give me 2, 4. So again, I'm gluing. Always I'm aiming to glue the thicker materials. So I'm actually gluing the board itself, so that won't affect the paper, the thin paper that can move and shift. And then I can just do the rest here, what's going to touch the cloth. I can just glue it here. Trust me, it makes life much easier than gluing the whole paper. Taking it out and connecting. I want it more or less 2 on both sides, so with my eye I can see. Let's do the other one. And just the edge here. That was too much glue. You see how I take back the glue to the brush? I'll trim it all around. 2 centimeter ruler, and that means 2 centimeter turn-ins. This is great. And here I can just take this out. And again, my corner jig. 1 and 2. 3 and 4. Yeah, you like the dark green? Laminated paper. Okay, that's the word. I see a nice question, how I started, how I got into bookbinding. So my father is a collector of books and art. So I was more or less, I grew up in a library of old books, and they surrounded me all my life. And my father decided to open a private press. We called it Even Hoshen. And he decided he wants to open a private press that creates books like the ones he likes to buy. So we started without any previous knowledge. We just knew what we like, and that means printing the books letterpress, and that means setting the type and printing on old presses. And we wanted to combine original works of art inside the books. So that's usually etchings or woodcuts or some kind of prints. Some are actually originals. And my father took the part of being the publisher, and that means to decide about which poet to publish his poems and who is the artist that is going to work with the poet. And I took the part of designing and making the books themselves. And we are doing it for many years now. More than 30 years I'm making books. And that is why I made a variety of books in different sizes and techniques, and a lot of innovation in my binding process, because I'm a self-taught autodidact. So a lot of solutions I found along the way are actually something new that is not commonly used. But now I'm teaching people my kind of technique and binding to spread the word and to spread my love to books. So we published many books throughout the years. And I need to make some more videos about the process of making these books. It's a good idea to add it to the list of things to do. I'm still working with my father, which is a privilege. We have a very special connection. And also I'm working with my kids. All of them know the craft. At least one of them is the moderator of this live stream. So they are behind the scenes, looking at the chat, telling me if there's any problem. I like this navy blue one. I'll take a sip of water. I know at least of one person that would be happy to see I'm drinking, because I always forget to drink. As you can see, there's many ways to do each of the steps in the process. to make sure it is in the fold. Let me try like this, a bit less, because you see that it's a bit crooked here. You can't see. The cloth is a bit crooked, so I'm taking it a bit back, and I'll do it to the other side, and then everything would be exact, because you need the paper on both sides to be exactly the same. Otherwise, when you fold it, you see it's not in the same line. Okay? Tips and tricks. I'm running out of waste paper here. Soon I'll go to the other room to take some more. If you're joining me, I'm making covers today A6 size, which means 15 centimeters on 10, and I'm doing it in various colors. And the reason I'm doing it is because I'm planning on the weekend to try different sewing patterns on the spine, and I want to make some kind of template, a PDF file or something, to give a variety of sewing patterns. So that's the idea. I hope everything will work. There's no reason it won't. By the way, it's interesting for me to hear the ones here that are practicing bookbinding and working on books. If you usually work on the weekends or you work on weekdays, I usually work on weekdays, and on the weekends I edit my videos and publish them, as you can see, obviously. But this week there's no video planned, and I'm going to work on these templates and hopefully share it with you soon. I'll glue only the edge here. Again, this is Fabriano paper. This is an Italian paper, a very good one. It comes in two thicknesses, 90 grams, the one that you see here, and 160 grams. It comes in various colors, and it's a great paper for end papers, for the outside cover. Trimming the edge. This is longer, yeah, I can see that. So maybe this is longer. The waste paper is going to cover everything, but still, you always aim for perfection. And this is the corner jig, and I have a video about how to make it if you want to make one for yourself. Okay, I see you were chatting about the trace paper, and Kozo paper is a wonderful paper to work with. It is very thin and very strong, and that's actually what you use for backing calligraphy usually. So Kozo paper is a very nice paper to work with, also for reinforcing the spine, but also for backing cloth. The only problem I can see with using Kozo paper is Kozo paper I know of is handmade, and handmade paper acts differently with the grain direction. Because it is handmade, and when you make the paper and take it out from the water and just move the net to create the paper, the fibers are not aligning like in a commercial paper that the machine tilts and moves and all the fibers are running in the same direction. And then when you work with handmade paper and you put glue on it, it just goes to all directions. And that could be a bit of a problem for two things. One, when you're connecting it to back the cloth, and the other one is afterwards when you are making the binding itself. If you don't know, we need always the grain direction to be parallel to the spine. So the board is this direction, the paper that is covering is the same direction, and also the end paper and the inside paper. But if you are working with a handmade paper, it could go to different places, and then you can see sometimes that the corners of the book are just lifting because it is not parallel to the spine like all the rest of the materials. I see my camera thought to itself that I'm tired. So the focus is back on. Sorry about that. And that's a good thing I have my daughter as a moderator to just call me and tell me, Dad, you're not in focus. So let me go back to focus. And afterwards, I'll check why the camera just started to go out of focus. The bone folder I'm using is a Teflon bone folder. I have many kinds. I have bone folders that are from bone, and they work all the same, but the advantage of the Teflon bond folder is you can take off the glue very easily, and with these kind of bond folders you can feel the glue and you need to clean them once a while. So usually when I'm working on the covers and not just with paper, I prefer to work with a Teflon one. Yes, it moves very nicely, but as you can see from years of work, the shape changes because you're working all the time. I guess microfibers go off of it and then it changes its look. Do I have a new one here? No, I don't have a new one to show you. Trying to look for one. No, but as you can see, these two were the same when I started. One got to this shape and one to this shape. You can see I did a lot of this. But we are talking about 10 years of work, okay? More or less with each bond folder, so it's not like it will happen in a year. I'm happy you want to give it a go. I think this is quite simple, and I must say the part of connecting paper on the cloth is much more tricky. So, I'm in focus, yeah. So maybe if you have a big piece of cloth, that would be easier for your first try. Because I think the most challenging thing in this kind of a binding is to connect the paper and align it so it would be straight on both sides. And if you're working with just all the cover with one material, that would be easy for the first time. And because we're working with A6 size, this is not such a big piece of cloth or paper. So my recommendation is to start with the whole piece. But if you want to challenge yourself, go for the different materials, one on top of the other. Let me make some more covers, because I'm sure there are people that are joining us here and didn't see the first stage of the binding. So I'm marking a 2 centimeter line with my 2 centimeter ruler, and let's go for orange. I'll mark myself. First of all, I'll cut it 7.5. It is here. And I'm going to give a mark for the 2 centimeters. And I'll start by gluing this up until my line. I did a bit more than my line, but it's okay. I'm going to cover it afterwards. And now I'll connect the cloth By the way, when I'm working, I always, not always, but usually work standing up. I feel that this is the right way to move and get things around. So I have a high table. I have a couple of tables all around my studio. And I usually work standing up all day. So that's also nice when I'm filming. I think it is better, the footage while I'm standing. Let me see if this is okay. I'll show you what I'm checking here. I'm checking that my pencil marks are reaching the same place. And they are. Okay, start with a whole cloth binding. I don't want to discourage you, but I think that's more easy for the first time. I'll do the turn-ins. I usually put waste paper underneath, but I'm starting to, my pile is starting to get thinner and thinner here. You saw the glue coming out. I clean my home folder. I have here a piece of cloth to clean it if I need. Now I need 14, so it's up until here, and 7.5. As you can see, when I'm cutting, look what I'm doing with my fingers. I'm starting and then holding. This is just a natural thing I'm doing, but maybe you need to pay attention to that. It helps the material not to move. I'll glue it. Starting from the top, moving my way down, and then making the rest. Trying to hold more with the fingernail rather than my finger. That is why I have long fingernails. It's a great tool to have. Look what a nice variety of colors. Let's go for the red one. I'll cut this while I'm cutting. And I'll cut this 14. Look what a beautiful color. There's wrinkles here. I hope it would be okay. I'll mark the 2 centimeter. Let's see. What's the question? The good question. Let me check for a second. Okay. Brushes. First of all, I have a video about the fear of glue and how I manage with the glue and the PVA and the brushes and everything. But let me tell you, I have 2 main brushes. The 20-plus-year-old brush I use for big things. This is this one. I'll show you from here. Okay. Once a while, I'll give it a haircut, not a haircut, a glue cut, because there are pieces that are just connecting to the sides. Okay, and this brush is without metal or something. And I have a jar of water that the brushes are inside when I'm not working. So water inside, the water is starting to look like glue, very thin glue. And that's how I keep my brushes alive. Of course, if you are working on a project just once a while, then what I recommend you to do is wash it thoroughly, okay? And then put it to dry like this, not like this, so the hair won't shift or make very weird angles. But I usually put it inside water, but I use it. I'm looking at the clock. I started 6 a.m. today, so I use it most of the day. Water and PVA, it works great together. So that's how I leave my brushes when I'm not working. And when I'm working, because I'm dipping each time and then working again, it's not drying up. In the summertime, that could be a problem. And then I just dip it inside the jar with, I'll call it glue water, because it's not just water. And then it is reacting again and moving more easily. I know there are people that are using rollers. I don't like to work with rollers because of a couple of things. First of all, you need to put it inside a tray, and usually a lot of the glue is just wasted by just, you can't use it in such a big tray, and you need to clean the roller itself thoroughly each time. And when you use and when you work on big things, maybe that's an advantage when you do an edition of books or very big covers or boxes and so on, that could be a good reason to use rollers. But when you're working on small things, I don't think there's a reason to use a roller. But That's my take, you know, each one with his preference or what he's used to. And of course, if you are using, now we are working with PVA, but if you are working with paste, then I have a completely different brush to work with paste. It's this one, okay? Again, without metal, okay? This is a piece of cloth that holding the hair, and you put it inside water, so the water would absorb up until the core. It's called a bristle. I'm not sure the name of the closing side here, but you put it inside water so it would absorb inside, so the glue won't absorb inside, and then you use it for paste. So these are different brushes completely. So I have a small and big one for paste and different ones for PVA. So that was 60 seconds, maybe more, about brushes. I'm so glad you're asking questions, because I think each live feed, each live stream is different according to the people that are watching and the questions that are asked. It's true, not all the time I can answer the questions, and maybe I missed some, so don't take it personally. But I think this is a very special thing to do, that you not just watching, you can be active and ask questions. Great advantage. Something feels off here. I think just the board has a bit of stain on it. Wow. Truck drivers, sorry about that. Yes, what I use is PVA with natural pH, okay? So, because I'm working on special things, works of art, and I want my books to keep living years and years after me, I'm using materials that are with natural pH, so no rust stains or things that are acidic. I don't know how you say it in English. That there is no acid inside the material that can affect, not in 1, 2, 5 years, but afterwards you can see things happening. I want to make the red one with my paper already. I think it would be a nice fit together. Waste paper. I have 2 left. I think it would be enough for this one, and then I'll bring some more. Another question. I like it that you write question and then I can answer. Let me see. Great question. What you see here, I called it spacers. They are used from just bookbinding board. Depending on the cover I'm making, the spaces are different. So now today we're using 5 millimeters. I have one that is 3 boards thickness, so it's around 6 millimeters. That's what I did for the last video with the clasps to close the box. So I had one that is 3 millimeter gap, but I had to have something for the 9 millimeters. I don't remember what. So I actually cut material and glue it together in different thicknesses and sizes depending on the work I'm making. I know that you can find them for sale, you know, just printed 3D or different variations. And actually, maybe I'll do a video about how to make spacers. It's quite easy, and it would be part of my how to make your own tools playlist. So I'll add it to the list. Yeah, I opened the window, great. I'll put it here. I'll bring it to my stopper. Do the other side. I need this to lift it. It's nice to go back to these kinds of covers. I've been making a lot of pocket journals with rounded corners while making my new class. So it's nice to do straight corners again. In the class I show how to improvise if you don't have a rounded corner cutter. I just show how to improvise with a coin. I still have a coin here. And just bring it to the edge, mark with a pencil, and then cut with a knife. There are advantages for rounded corners, especially for a pocket journal that you carry around in your bag or something. But I missed the straight ones. You see the bubbles here? Let's straighten it up. That's the 90-gram paper. Sometimes I put it inside the press, but I think today with the workflow, I'm not doing that. I will trim. And cut the corners. The board I'm using today is 2.3 millimeter thick. It is called a gray board, bookbinding board, chipboard. It comes in very different names, but still it's the same gray board. Of course, you can also reuse materials, like from food packaging, okay? You can take an old box of pasta or something and work with that. Or if you want it thicker, you can connect two of them together. It can also work. I really encourage you to reuse materials. I know a lot of people use the back of their drawing boards, you know, the paper block for sketching. It has a thick board to it. You can use that. Or you can just buy a bunch of boards. I'm sure you can make so many projects with it. As you can see, this is from leftover material from a bigger book edition I made, or a box edition I made. So it won't go to waste. Where's my cloth? I saw the clock and it's 12 in my local time. So I think what I'm going to do is finish this one. We'll see what we have made in these 2 hours. And I'll continue later. So let's see what we have here today. Maybe you should see from upper side. Various colors. I still have some to cover with paper. But I really enjoyed your company. I missed chatting with you and interacting together, so it was very nice. I'll take a break and I think I'll finish it off camera. And on the weekend I hope to try different patterns of sewing, and then I can make different things for, like I said, for the templates that maybe later on I can share with you. So that's more or less the plan. So thank you for joining me this morning, and I'll see you in the next time. Make sure maybe to open the bell, the notification, and then when I'm going live, because sometimes like today I just decide without telling you before, so then you can get a notification that I'm on and I'm working. So I see you thanking me back. So again, it is a privilege to have you here with me. I'm really honored to inspire you with my videos and with the art of bookbinding. So thank you again, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Now it's